For most of the last century, educated people have been handed a story. The story says that the more we learn about the universe, the smaller God becomes, that science has slowly emptied the sky. But what if that story has it exactly backwards? What if the deeper we look into the cosmos, the cell, the mind, and the long record of history, the harder the universe becomes to explain without a maker? The heavens declare the glory of God, the skies proclaim the work of his hands. It is an ancient line. The strange thing is how modern it has started to sound. You have heard the slogan, even if you never said it aloud. Belief once filled the gaps in what we did not know, and now, we are told, the gaps have closed. An educated person lives in a universe that runs by itself, indifferent, accidental, with no one behind it and no meaning beyond what we invent. It is repeated so often, by people so confident, that it has taken on the texture of fact. But is it actually true? Here is the claim that drives this book. The slogan is not merely false, it is almost the reverse of the truth. The evidence for a mind behind the universe is not retreating into the shadows. It is accumulating. Over the last 100 years, the more deeply we have looked, the stranger and more pointed the findings have become, and they point, with remarkable consistency, in a single direction. But let us be honest about what kind of case this is. It is not a mathematical proof, where the conclusion is forced and only a fool could resist. Almost nothing that matters works that way. This is how a detective builds a conviction, or a jury reaches a verdict, not from one decisive fact, but from many independent clues all leaning the same way. A single thread is fragile. Yet a rope holds, though no single fiber could. The 50 proofs are arranged as 7 roads. Reason asks why anything exists at all. The cosmos reveals a universe balanced on a knife edge. Life hands us a code that no chemistry knows how to write. The mind confronts us with a consciousness science cannot locate. History offers witnesses who died for what they claimed to see. And again, science has quietly changed its own mind. 7 roads, watch where they lead. Begin with the oldest question, the one a child asks, and an adult learns to stop asking because it has no comfortable answer. Why is there something rather than nothing? Not why the universe is this way rather than that, but why there is a universe at all, instead of no space, no time, no matter, not even darkness. Nothing would have been so much simpler. And yet here is the world, insistently present, demanding to be explained. When physicists learned to read the universe down to its foundations, they found something nobody wanted. The laws of nature are balanced, with staggering precision, on the narrow settings that allow life to exist. Picture a wall of dials, the strength of gravity, the mass of the electron, the energy of empty space. Turn almost any one of them a fraction in either direction, and you get no stars, no chemistry, no observers. Nothing at all. Take a single number. It governs how tightly atomic nuclei bind, and how stars burn their fuel. Its value is 0.007. Nudge at the smallest distance, and the universe gives you no chemistry, and no chance of you. Every dial we can read sits inside the narrow band that permits a cosmos of galaxies, and minds to wonder about them. Darwin imagined the living cell as a simple blob of jelly. He was wrong by a margin that is hard to overstate. At the heart of every cell sits a molecule that does something no lifeless process had ever been shown to do. It stores coded information, written in a 4-letter alphabet, in sequences that work like language. The human genome runs to 3 billion of those letters. And in all of human experience, the only known source of a code that means something, is a mind. Now turn to the one thing you know most intimately, and that science finds hardest to explain, your own consciousness. You are not merely a machine processing data. You taste the bitterness of coffee, you feel the ache of grief, you see the particular red of a sunset. Why should any of that be felt from the inside, rather than handled in the dark, with nobody home? Philosophers call it the heart problem. After all our progress, the inner light of experience remains a ghost the instruments cannot find. Something happened in Jerusalem around the year 30. A defeated, scattered band of followers, their leader executed as a criminal, became, within a single generation, a movement that shook an empire. Historians work here with a handful of minimal facts, granted even by skeptics, that Jesus was crucified, that his followers were sincerely, unshakably convinced they had seen him alive, and that they suffered and died for that claim. Liars rarely die for what they know to be a lie. So what did they see? And here is what the slogan never mentions. The universe was once declared eternal, until it was found to have a beginning. Life was thought to arise on its own from dead matter, until that idea quietly collapsed. Time and again, a confident certainty used against God has been abandoned, and science has arrived, often reluctantly, where believers had been standing all along. It is worth asking which direction the retreat is actually heading. Before we weigh it all, consider something nearer, you. For you to exist, two specific people had to meet, out of billions. And their parents before them, and theirs, an unbroken chain reaching back across thousands of years, through war and famine and chance. Break a single link, and someone else might be here, but not you. Reckon honestly with those odds, and the accidental view of the universe stops feeling liberating. It begins to feel absurd, and gratitude begins to feel like the only sane response. Pascal, who understood probability as well as anyone of his age, noticed that God is not a question we can quietly set aside. We cannot step outside the wager. We live, every single day, either as though God exists or as though he does not, and our own lives are the stake. On one side, the possibility of everything that matters. On the other, a wash. Read in the light of all this evidence, the question is no longer abstract. So do the thing the skeptic refuses to do. Do not examine each thread alone, pronounce it too thin, and walk away. Pick up the rope. A mosaic shows a face, though no single tile is a face. 50 independent lines, reason, the cosmos, life, mind, history, all leaning the same way. The odds that so many unconnected clues would, by sheer accident, frame the same answer grow vanishingly small. At some point, honest people stop calling it coincidence. What makes this book rare is its restraint. Where a famous quotation is misattributed, the author leaves it out. Where a number is disputed, he says so. Where the witness he cites was himself an atheist, he tells you, and lets you notice that the fact is, if anything, more impressive for it. Every argument is met with its strongest objection, out in the open. The case is built only from what is true, because a case for the God of truth cannot be built any other way. 50 arguments. 7 roads. 1 direction. Each one, on its own, leaves room to doubt. Together, they become very hard to explain as an accident. The slogan says the verdict is in, and that God has lost. But the slogan never looked at the evidence. This book asks only one thing of you, that you look, that you weigh the whole, and not the pieces, and notice which way it leans. If any of these questions has ever kept you awake at night, the full case is waiting, laid out one piece at a time. You will find 50 proofs for the existence of God through the link in the description. Pick up the rope, and weigh it for yourself.